Hello guys and welcome to the first video in my channel. I'm really excited to kickstart this journey and just to give you more information. My name is Justus and this is my first video on YouTube. So to give you the backstory of mine, I've been in sales, in sales industry for the last 1.5 years, almost two, and I worked with quite a few different offers as an appointment setter, as a closer, and also as a manager. And overall, throughout my journey, I did over, I think, six or $500,000 in client revenue. So I hope that these numbers and facts will give you the confidence that I know what I'm talking about. And yeah, I'm really excited to guys walk you through this concept and system on this video because we're gonna be talking about how to create an appointment setting script using ChatGPT, using AI. So without any further ado, let's just dive in. But before I give you the exact context, let me just show you of what we're gonna cover in this video. So first of all, we're gonna go through the booking framework and then booking framework guide, because before I give you the AI integration options and before we actually go into creating a script for our, for example, business, or if you're an appointment setter for your company, I need you to understand very clearly of how appointment setting is done. Like what are the requirements and how the entire process from A to Z is done properly. Because if you don't have the skill or if you don't fully understand what is it that you're doing over the DMs, I doubt that it's gonna work and that the script that you're gonna generate is gonna be effective. Because you're gonna see later that for the script to be effective, you need to pivot the script accordingly. And for you to be able to pivot the script, you need to know what to pivot, like what to look out in the script, that AI generated. So cool, we're gonna start with the booking framework. Now, generally, this framework applies to any offer and any industry in the B2C space, business to consumer. Because I've been more familiar in the B2C space as an appointment setter, let's just say, and I worked with more B2C offers rather than the B2B. The difference between those two, if you don't know, is that B2C is business to consumer. That means it's for example, a program towards an individual, and business to business is a service to another business. That's just basically the difference. The appointment setting difference is that the B2C is like your conversation with a prospect that's working a job or someone who is looking to learn from you. It's more emotional. So there are more emotions attached and there is more influence to be made over emotions. However, with the B2B business, you are more talking facts and you're more appealing to the actual numbers. What businesses care is numbers, ROI, stuff like that. So if I was a seller and when I was a seller, I was preferring more the B2C space because it's just a bit more interesting and it's a bit more controllable. So especially if you're a beginner and if you're a seller looking for a job, I would prefer you, or I would rather you just go into the B2C space. However, this video can be viewed also by businesses. So we're just gonna go over one more time just so you can know exactly how appointment setting is done, because I've been in a space for a while now, and I've been in a spot where I was booking 10 calls a day for other businesses and also for my own. So I hope that this information is gonna help you. Now, yeah, let's just dive in. So the first thing that we need to know is that there are two types of leads. And someone who is familiar with this whole thing, you can skip for a few minutes because I'm gonna explain something that is a bit obvious in the industry. So the first kind of lead is inbound lead. So inbound lead it refers to call to action or reply, Facebook, for example, group requests, or someone who opted in. So inbound, in other words, is just generally someone who is reaching out to you, someone who is showing the interest, and someone who is being like a warm lead, interested. They know about you, they probably like, or at least they have a baseline interest of what you have going on or what you sell, and they just need more information to be able to make a decision whether to work with you or not. So those people are called inbound leads. Now, there is also another, which is outreach. So those are new followers on the, for example, Instagram page, comments, post likes. So these sort of people they don't really know you, or they know you not very well. They don't perhaps like you, and they don't really have too much interest, because you are reaching out to them. So they might not even be interested at all. So this is the difference. Now, obviously, you can tell that with inbound leads, it's a lot harder. It's a lot easier to book them over a call, and probably it's a bit easier to close them over on the call rather than on the outreach colder leads. However, inbound leads is a bit of a rare case. If you're working with an offer, you're probably gonna most likely be asked to do more outreach than answer to inbound leads, because they cost more as well for the business acquisition. But those are the two. I think that's it. Those are the two like initial leads, I guess, lead sources that you're gonna be working with, regardless if you're a seller or a business owner. And yeah, the situation goes pretty much the same for both of them. It's just that the approach we're gonna take in those situations might be a bit different, but overall the picture goes the same. So we are gonna go through situation awareness, which all of that I'm gonna explain later here. Then we're gonna go into goal awareness, which we just learn more about them. In the goal awareness, we just ask them or find out more about what their goal is, like what they are desiring to achieve. In the problem awareness, we discover and identify the problem they have. Then we clarify and dig deeper, double check. Also, there is a thing called close the gap, which we find out the problem and we find out exactly what's holding them back, and we close the gap. And then we call propose. The call proposal happens once we gather all the information and once we feel confident that not only we can help the prospect that we're talking to, but also that the service we have is actually helpful, because otherwise it's not really worth booking someone in if we don't think deep down that we can for sure help them. So this should be our 100% number one focus, which is looking at them not as prospects but as partners and someone who we try to see if we can actually help them. Then we send the calendar, and if everything goes well, you're gonna have a pretty high booking rate and the call will be booked. So this is the framework. As I said before, it generally stays the same in all industries in B2C. And actually B2B is gonna be pretty similar. It's just that it's gonna be less on emotions and more on the facts. And it's pretty much gonna stay the same. So I hope this makes sense. Now let's move into me explaining you more about how each stage works in a little bit more depth. So we have, actually, before the situation awareness, we have some report stage. So actually those two, like, they work together hand in hand. They are pretty similar. I just put this to explain you why it's pretty important to also include like report in the conversation. But both of those can be even one. That report can be current situation. So it depends a little. But we have first report. So your main objective here is just to connect with the other person that you're talking about, and I guess build the relationship, Because afterwards, after you do that, the conversation is gonna feel a lot lighter, and it's gonna be a lot easier to communicate with the prospect. Like, it's gonna be a lot less tense up, So I really, really advise you to go through this phase without skipping it. It might take more time, you might be needing to have more like messages exchanged with the prospect, but it's gonna be a lot easier to then move through each stage one by one and then eventually book them in after you established the relationship. And yeah, after that, you move on to the current situation, which means you're asking what their current situation is, what they have going on. For example, what kind of job they work, how much they make, and I guess what they have going on in their life, because you are also want to see whether the program whether they can be capable in achieving the results in the program. Because if they have a very, very busy job, or if they have something that takes 90% of their day, well, obviously they're not going to qualify just because of that. So we're not only asking those questions to see if they qualify budget wise or stuff like that, but we're also qualifying them on a good fit wise to see if we can actually help them, like I said before. So this is situation awareness stage. Now the next one is goals. It's very important, not the most important. You're gonna see that the problems, and I specifically included it on a more like darker color, like blue, I highlighted it because it's gonna be the most important part of the entire conversation. In the goals, the main objective we have is just understanding like what their goals are. So, for example, their current situation is not really fulfilling them, or they are not satisfied with what they have currently going on. And then by automatic, like by having a genuine conversation, we're gonna move on to asking, okay, so if you're, for example, if they are telling us that their current situation is working a 9 to 5 job that doesn't pay enough and that takes a lot of time and takes a lot of headspace, well, then we ask, okay, I got you. And I understand that, working a busy and tireless like job can be exhausting. So I guess for me to see if I can even help you, what would you like to achieve in the next 3 months, or in the next 6 months, if you were to work with me, for example, with an e-com offer or something like that. So we find out more about their goals. We emphasize, we acknowledge what they said, and then we move on to goals. And this is very important stage, because if we don't know what they actually want, we can't really see and we can't really probably help them at all. So that's goal awareness. Now the next one is problems. And this is where the real skills are about to come into play. This is the most important part because most of the time, and you're gonna see, I don't know if you're experienced, someone who's watching this, or if you're on a business, problem with the industry is that most of the time, prospects tend to lie. Once we ask them a question, they're probably gonna just answer the question without full honesty. And it's not something that you should be surprised about, and it's not something that you should take personally. It's just the way it is. People like to lie because they want to defend themselves, because they don't want to look fool in front of us. They don't want to, I guess, look fool in front of themselves. They want to prove to themselves that they are not as bad or as good as they say they are. And most of the time, they are lying. But the main thing is that you should take everything that they say with a grain of salt. You can't, as crazy as it sounds, you can't, I would say 80% of the time, trust whatever prospect is saying at first. This is why we're so much focusing on these two beginning parts, because if you build enough rapport with them, and if you actually connected them with a deeper level, it's a lot higher chance that they're gonna tell you the truth later on. So this is why it's very important for you to really understand how to do this properly, so that once you actually move and get to this phase, it's gonna the truth is gonna naturally come out in front of you, and you're not gonna have to second guess their answers and think about in your head like whether what they said is actually true. So this is, yeah. And by the way, guys, this is what we're going over here is just a very, very baseline. Like, it's something that's not very deep. And if you want me to make a deeper and more in-depth video and like a sort of a training on how to set appointments, for example, how did I book 10 to 15 appointments a day, and expanding more in all of those stages, then let me know down below in the comments. I'm good with making the video, because this video, the reason I'm telling you all this, because I know that I told you in this video that I'm gonna show you how to make an appointment setting script. But the reason I'm telling you this is because most of the time, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, is not gonna give you the perfect answer. Like, whatever prompt you're gonna put, whatever you're gonna tell them to do, they're not gonna generate something that's gonna be perfect, because human touch is something that GPT hasn't mastered yet, and it's not gonna master for any time soon. So you need to understand what you're looking for in a script, and you need to, most importantly, understand how the script should work. What are the stages, what you are gonna need to focus on in each stage. Because once you know that, then once you're gonna see the script, you're gonna understand that, okay, in this part, for example, this is what's wrong and this is what needs to be fixed. It's gonna be a lot easier for you to have a good script. AI is just gonna help you, give you the words and the structure. So yeah, let me know if you wanna have me make a deeper training and more in depth about all of these stages. But yeah, once we find out the problems, then we just close the gap. So if their goal is to leave their 9 to 5 and make money online, and the problem is that they don't know how, or they don't have the resources, then we just close the gap. We refer all of that back to them, and we ask a question. I really like one question. Okay, so Mr. Prospect, let's just say, if your goal is to make $10,000 online with e-commerce, but you can't do that now because you don't know how and you don't have the resources or the right guidance, what kind of help would you need from us or from me to be able to achieve that goal? What this question does is it doesn't necessarily put you in a spot where you are trying hard to sell them, but it puts you in a spot where they, the prospect you're talking to, they're gonna sell it themselves as to why they would be a good fit to work with you. So it's almost like you apply a reverse psychology of telling them, of them qualifying themselves instead of you qualifying them. And you're gonna learn later, like as I'll make more videos, that applying the reverse psychology and making prospects qualify themselves for the call is the most powerful thing that you can sort of develop and establish in a conversation to achieve as high booking rate as possible. This is something that 99% of sellers and business owners or anyone in sales at all like don't understand, and that's why they're left behind. And that's why my goal is to teach you that. And yeah, after all that, we move on to call proposal. And truth to be told, if you have done everything right up until this point, I would say it's a very high chance that the prospect is gonna say yes to the call. It's all about keeping your calm. It's all about knowing what to do in each stage, not messing things up, and being the leader. Leading with value. I don't know. If I was a prospect and if you have done everything right, like I would feel that if I'm not gonna book the call, I'm gonna be like screwing myself over. I'm gonna be shooting myself in the foot. That's how I make my prospects feel if they're not gonna be booking a call. They're gonna feel like shit. If up until this point we had a conversation, they told me about their goals, current situation, problems, everything, and they're still not willing to book a call. Like it's unreasonable. It can't happen. That's how you book, by the way, 10 calls a day. Is when you put a prospect in a place where they don't have another choice but to book a call. So yeah, I guess I went over in a small like rough time and in a nutshell of how the booking process works, what are the stages and what you need to focus on in each one. Again, this is a very standard baseline, and if you want me to go over a bit more in depth of how of those each stages work, what kind of questions to ask, what to focus on and stuff like that, then let me know in the comments. We're gonna work something out. But cool, now we're gonna move into the sweet part, which is AI integration options. So currently I found about 4, actually there are probably over 10 options to integrate AI into appointment setting, but I currently found like 4, I guess the most standard ones and the most, I guess, achievable ones that we can integrate and use and leverage to improve like the result. And the result might be different, like booking rate, data, stuff like that. So first one we have is AI script generation. And this one is what we're gonna cover in this video right now, because it's the easiest for me to explain. And I guess it's pretty actually helpful and pretty valuable, because if you know how to generate a script and if you know also how to analyze and how to improve that script, you're gonna be able to generate good scripts pretty quickly and pretty easily, and those scripts are gonna be useful. So if you're an appointment setter working, for example, with YouTube automation coach, and you feel that they have a pretty shit script, well, after you have gone through this video, you understand how the process should go. You're gonna know how to generate a script and how to improve that script. You're gonna take like another 30 minutes, act on the information, and probably improve the script, which can make a lot of more money for the company you're working with. Same if you're a business owner, like you're gonna pick up the information here, act upon it, and probably your script is gonna improve. So it's up to you. But this is what we're gonna focus on this video. Now the next one is AI data analyzer, also a very good integration option. However, it requires a bit more knowledge and a bit more, like it's a bit more complex. So I wouldn't recommend to do that for a beginner. And we're not gonna really go over too much into detail in any of these in this video. If you want me to show you how you can integrate all of those 4 things, because I have been integrating those in other businesses, and I've worked with businesses that have those things, or at least some of those things, in their business. So let me know. I think we can work something out. But yeah, the other one that we have is AI Convo Consultant, and I've been using that quite a few times once I was working as an appointment setter. It's actually a very, very useful tool. It's very simple also how it works. So the consultant I have is also GPT. And what happens is sometimes you become a little bit undecideful, like you don't really decide what to answer, or you're not really certain. Or for example, you have a question from a prospect, or you get their answer and you're not really sure how to take it from there. Like, you're a bit up, like confused. What I like to do in this situation is I take the response that prospect gave us and I put that response into ChatGPT. I put a prompt, and then the GPT gives me a couple of answer options and why it would answer like that. So you consult with GPT on what kind of answers you would give, and that way you're not only getting a good advice of what to do, but you're also learning, because GPT like knows a lot. It's not human, but it knows the numbers and the facts. Human psychology, how humans are thinking. All of those things. It knows well, and it can give you an answer based on how well those things can be applied in the conversation or in the reply that they're gonna generate. So this is something that I for sure gonna make video in the future, and this is something that I use myself that helped me a lot. And the last one we have is the AI conversation bot. So it could be like a pre-built chat bot, or even the software called ManyChat. I can show you real quick. This is like a software where you have an option to create a bot that has conversations with prospects. And if you're an expert in building stuff like that, sometimes the prospect is not gonna even find out or understand that they are talking to a bot. They're not talking to a human. This is also the reason why we need to go through stages like these, and we need to be a little bit more personalized with prospects, because if they're gonna feel and if they're gonna sense that they are talking to a bot or someone who's not real, their trust is gonna be broken and they're not gonna feel good. Like, people don't like to talk with robots. Like it's a bit too early for that. So if you can differentiate yourself from bots by connecting with person on a deeper level, by sounding more genuine, and by leading with value, it's gonna be a lot easier by automatic to book calls. So make sure you keep that in mind. Cool. So as I said, we're gonna focus on generating the AI script, and I guess let's just dive in right away. It's pretty simple. I guess the main part that I need you to focus on is understanding how the booking framework guide works, how the booking process works, like what kind of stages you need to take and what to focus in all of them, and use that information then to generate the script. So here are the steps. First of all is you need to pick an industry and describe it. So if you are, for example, in e-commerce, or if you are in any wealth business industry, which is B2C, then just take your industry and just make some notes about it. Also create an ideal client framework. So I have this later on, like a guide on what kind of questions you should answer to develop a pretty good ideal client framework and avatar. So if you want that, just let me know and I'm gonna send it to you. But those two things, describing an industry and finding your ideal client avatar, is gonna be very important for the prompt that we're gonna put later into GPT. Then after that, we need to input the process in the framework, which is gonna be our booking framework guide. So again, as you probably know, or at least at the time I'm filming this video, GPT is not powerful by itself to generate perfect things. So you need to give the GPT as much information as possible, and by using that information, GPT is gonna be able to generate better response and better result that you're looking to get. So if we're looking for the GPT to generate a script, we need to give as much examples and info about how we want the script to look and how it should be done for GPT to be able to generate a good script that we can use. Because the last thing we want is for the GPT to generate a script that's not even gonna be useful, and all this information gonna be for nothing. So those two steps, very important. And the last thing is just decide a style, status level, and length of the script. So decide if you want your script to be more direct and to the point, or more conversational and slightly more lengthy. Like at all times, make sure, by the way, keep the script professional, ethical, and it has to stay to the course. And the course I'm talking about here is these steps, Don't go off the line. Like, if you have been talking about goals or problems, don't start to go back into current situation. Or vice versa, don't go into call proposal, It can happen sometimes naturally. The conversation, like, talking about the problems, and then it goes back to their current situation. But keep the straight line at all times. Try to stay at like a straight line, and just move through phases smoothly. So that's very important. And yeah, we're gonna then pick all this information, input it into the prompt that I have, and provide it for GPT. So this is the prompt, by the way. I've built this prompt and it works pretty well. Main thing, as you can see here, is after you have the script generated, you need to pivot that script accordingly. So that's also why I've gone through like 25 minutes here explaining you how, like almost 25, I think 20 minutes, explaining how appointment setting process works, what are the stages, what you need to focus on, and gave you a couple of question examples, because now you know how the process should be. And once you have the script in front of your eyes, you're gonna understand that, in this phase it's not that good, in this phase it's perfect, and that way you're gonna know what you're looking for. Because if you don't, no, like GPT is not gonna be able to help you. No one will. You have to have the knowledge inside you to be able to also like get any help from outside. Cool. So this is it. Now I'm not gonna go through the entire prompt, but the main thing is I input the information of what I need the GPT to do. Then I give the entire process here. I show them like those 6 or 5 stages, and then I tell them that, follow those 5 stages, and remember, don't sound robotic. I give some more instructions, just as much info as possible for the GPT to be able to give good answer. So yeah, I did this already. So let's just see how it did. So I actually wanted to go with a very, very unique case. Because if you are in, for example, e-commerce, if you're in e-com industry, it's probably gonna be like pretty easy for you to find the script in the internet, or I guess to find the script just anywhere. For example, I guess it would be a lot more interesting if you are in an industry, let's just say, called window cleaning business industry. Like, for example, if you're in an industry which is a lot more rare, not as saturated, and not really known, and not really heard, you probably are not gonna have a good script, you're not gonna have a good guidance, and you need to craft something up, and you need someone to consult with. So this is why the GPT is gonna be very powerful. There are a lot of new industries that are coming into life with this AI trend and everything else. So we just need the proper strategy to be able to leverage AI to make a good script for our business quickly, to leverage the quick entrance that we have. So let's just say using cleaning business, and this is gonna be like, this is on the top of my head. Like, I don't really know anything about window cleaning business. I don't have any knowledge, and I put this in a couple of minutes. So forgive me if I have forgot to include something, I guess. But yeah, industry is, I guess, B2B, where my company helps to clean buildings' windows. The ideal client is house owners, corporate buildings, garages, and someone who needs, just simply their windows to be cleaned professionally, efficiently, and neatly. And this is the framework of how each conversation should go with the information. Like I said here, we gave the industry, we provided the framework of our ideal client, and then we inputted the process. And as you can see here, follow this 5-stage process to generate me 2 step-by-step variations. Remember 2, because one will be to take an inbound prospect to booked call, and the other will be to take a prospect from an outreach message colder to a booked call. Difference is, first, an inbound is warm lead, and the second is cold. So it's also important because the script is not going to be the same. An inbound lead is going to be someone who messaged you, and an outreach is going to be someone you messaged them. And then I give more info about the style, which is, don't sound robotic. Your goal should be to find a way to help them be cool, professional, speak prospects language, and always lead with value. Just like standard information that you're gonna need to give it, because otherwise it's gonna be bad. And this is what we got, which is, by the way, pretty cool. I did kind of fixed a couple of things and you're gonna see later, but overall it has generated a pretty decent script. And again, I'm not gonna go through everything, I'm just gonna scroll for you to see, and like you're gonna be able to analyze this all by yourself, but we're gonna give like a general analysis. So first of all is thanks for reaching out about us and our cleaning services. I'm glad you're considering us for your needs. How can I assist you today? I want to express my gratitude for reaching out to us. It's great to connect with someone who values the cleanliness and presentation of their space. But before we dive into specifics, I'd love to learn a bit more about what prompted you to reach out today. Is there a particular concern or need you have regarding your building's windows? So the first thing I'm seeing is that the replies are too lengthy. Like they are too long, because one thing that prospects don't like is having to read all of this information, especially if they're replying, with one or two or three words or like short sentences. You are gonna look and you're gonna come off as very desperate if you're gonna send paragraphs like these. So you have to match the style of your prospects' length in replies and yours as well. Like it kind of has to match, and almost yours has to be shortened than theirs. They're gonna have to be more desperate than you are, because otherwise it's not gonna work. You're gonna be chasing them and not the other way around, which is what we are aiming for. So this is too long. The second thing is the language is not necessary. Like you don't need to have these words, gratitude or what prompted you or presentation, and it's two-faced answers. Those like it's something that's too complicated. Those people that we're gonna talk to, the reality is they are not that corporate. In B2B that I explained before, the language can be more corporate and it can be more sophisticated. But here we are aiming for simple answers. And I remember also one thing is that the closing gap and gap awareness, like this phase was done wrong. So you're gonna read here. I'm not gonna go the full training, just wanted to show you that it generates a pretty good script. But the main thing that you have to do is find out and identify the things that you don't like, the things that could be improved, and then give further instructions. So out of reading these, I guess, first three stages, and also this one, I didn't go anywhere further than that. Like I just stopped here, so I probably could have found like a couple of more points. I found three main things. First one is make the responses and questions a bit shorter. Second is use simpler language. And third is close the gap without using the word let's bridge the gap. How can be, that's also why GPT is not as perfect, because it can use stuff and language like this, which is really salesy and really unnecessary. It has to sound more like human. So that's what I said, to the GPT. Try to re-emphasize, on the close the gap, and I probably could have said, sound more like human here. Like I did this actually live yesterday, so I went pretty good with that. And then the response we got is a lot better. Like it's a lot shorter, a lot more to the point, and a lot more exactly what we're looking for. And close the gap, absolutely. Keeping your property looking pristine is crucial. Looking pristine, looking clean, or looking fresh. Pristine is not necessary, but it's all right. We can forgive GPT because it wants to sound cool. Otherwise, how is it gonna stay in the trend? What kind of help would you need to achieve your goal? Remember the question I asked? Well, this is the question in the close gap, because that way they're gonna see, oh, what kind of help do I need from you guys? Well, I need your tools, I need your time and your service. And I guess that's how my goal can be achieved. And then you say, perfect, well, let's just jump on a call and see if we can actually help you and how. And the prospect is gonna say, no, let's not, that's not gonna happen. So if you're doing everything properly and correctly, booking the call is gonna be as easy as, I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty simple. But cool, so this is how you do that. Again, I'm not gonna go through the full analysis because it's gonna take me an hour or so. And I guess and the most important thing is that you have to understand how to do that yourself, Not gonna be able to learn all of this from one video. So I assume if you wanna learn more about how the whole appointment setting process works and how to be as knowledgeable as someone who could book 10 meetings a day, just reach out to me personally or let me know below this video, and I'm gonna probably make a video additionally just taking you through the entire guide a lot more in depth. And this is the process of how to generate the script. Remember, the most important thing is you knowing how everything works, and then you giving GPT as much instructions in the beginning and after the script is generated to be able to generate a fully educated response that's gonna suit you and what you're looking for. But yeah, I guess this is pretty much it. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it was valuable, and most importantly, I hope it's gonna help your business, or if you're an appointment setter, to book you more calls. And this was my first video, so don't blame me if there was anything, or I guess I rambled too much. But let me know in the comments if you liked. I hope that you're gonna like this video, because I'm gonna do more in the future, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Peace.